So I gotta say, I'm pretty pumped up about this one here. Continuing the trend of Parfum fragrances, we have Boss the Scent Le Parfum. So for me, you know, it's one of those things that I'm down for it because I tend to gravitate towards the richer, heavier fragrances, and I do think a lot of times Parfum and, you know, EDP and just stronger flankers can often be better than the original. Of course, there's some exceptions to this, but more often than not, some of my favorites are an Intense or a Parfum or something along those lines. Now, what's weird about this one in particular is that at one point there was Boss the Scent Parfum, and it was in an all-black bottle, and they discontinued that one. Now, unfortunately, I don't have that. I was never able to get a bottle. I wasn't into collecting back when that was around, and so I can't compare this to that. But I will be able to compare this up against the rest of the line and other things on the market. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this one open. We'll take a look at it, see my first impressions, see what it compares to, and if I think it's going to be one that will be worth your attention. So here we go. Boss the Scent Le Parfum. Very familiar looking bottle. Not quite as Parfum looking as some other releases out there, and again from the original Parfum from the line. Obviously they can't go back to a bottle that looks similar because that might get too confusing and weird, but it does look nice, it looks classy, it looks modern. Presentation is pretty standard on these, just has a snap-on cap. We'll go ahead and give this one a shot for the first time here, see what it's all about. Pretty excited, so we'll see. So this one right off the bat here has a whole lot of syrupy sweetness. Kind of in the same vein as like your, just your new, refreshing, modern, sweet fragrance, like, I don't know, like an Armani Code Absolu, an Armani Code Profumo, that type of sweetness. Not comparing scents, but comparing personalities here. One that definitely opens up maybe a bit more youthful smelling, a bit younger smelling here. So for my guys out there who want mature, woody, strong fragrances, this one's not really quite going in that direction. And we'll take a look at the note breakdown. We have Manica fruit and ginger up top. We have iris in the mid. We have leather and woody notes in the base, or woodsy notes. So among those, I am picking up on the iris, and I have to admit, I do really, really like this. I mean, this type of thing is almost one of those guilty pleasure-leaning fragrances for me, because this is one of those fragrances where, especially when you're analyzing just the opening here, a lot of people are immediately going to write it off and say that it's generic and that it's boring, right? Because it has all that sweetness and, sure, a familiar smell. But for me, you know, there's something about it that is a little bit captivating. I'm picking up on small amounts of leather here as it's starting to settle down. I do find that the syrupy texture of this one is starting to dissipate a little bit. You know, you get a lot of that when you first spray it on. Now it's settling down. It's starting to kind of set into place here. And I feel like everything, that at least the notes that they give us here, is kind of starting to fall into their own little respective spot. So a little bit of that ginger is up top, giving it a little bit of a spicy opening. You get some of the woods in here. A lot of brands are going to this style of note breakdown where they only give you a few. Now, actually, they're doing better than most. They give us 2 extra here for this time. For a while there, and kind of what's still happening is they're only giving out 3 notes. Essentially, they're just giving you the ones that they want you to smell, basically. And these here are the ones that they want us to smell. And I have to admit, I do pick up on them, really. I mean, the Manica fruit is what's going to set this one apart the most. And a lot of times, you know, across the other Hugo Boss the Scent fragrances, that does give off a sweetness, and it gives off this just, you know, kind of unconventional smell, you know, something that you don't normally get from a men's fragrance. That note isn't used all that often outside of this line. So that part about it will make this one stand out. So here's what I have to say about this. You know, I do think that it is a really, really nice smelling flanker. Again, guilty pleasure for me, especially as it's settling down more. You know, some of the sweetness is starting to go away. Actually, some more of the leather starting to come through, giving it a bit more of a texture, a little bit of a masculine support. You're still getting the creamy iris. Smells great. I am a huge, huge fan of iris fragrances, so it's going to be to each your own. But I do think that calling this one a Parfum may be misleading to some of you out there, especially when you take a look at the scent line already, Private Accord, Absolute, the in production ones. They do have some of that sweetness, but a nice modern twist. You know, you would almost expect something even a bit more heavy and rich, not necessarily more sweet, because this is already very sweet, but I don't know, more of a depth behind it other than just a bunch of sweetness is kind of what I was, looking for here. Again, from a smell standpoint, I think this is very, very satisfying, very easy on the nose. I think for guys out there who are into sweet fragrances, I think you would get along with this one. But from a true heavy, rich parfum standpoint, I would have liked to see a bit more. Now that being said, I do think those who are a fan of the line and of sweet fragrances would really enjoy this. So this one is a Parfum concentration. By the way, my batch is 1, 2, 3, 1, just in case you wanted to know. I thought it was going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost had it. But performance, we'll obviously have to test here. I would imagine that it would do well in terms of its longevity. Projection is going to be softer. It's going to be more of a hang in the air type of scent, like most, if not almost all parfums. It'll leave a nice trail for you. And I mean, dude, it does smell nice. I have to admit, that is a really, really nice opening, but definitely not for everybody. So we do have a few Fragrantica comparisons to look at, so I do want to check those out real quick. First up, we have Hugo Boss, the scent. So just the original one. I think they kind of share a similar smell, but this one is still more sweet than that, and they do share a lot of notes as well, the manica, the leather, that sort of thing, the woods, the ginger, but this one more sweet, I guess more parfum leaning, but still not a huge increase in terms of its challenging depth. Next up, 1 Million Lucky. I really don't get that. Not really for me. Valentino, Born in Roma, same thing. That's kind of more fresh, Invictus, Aqua, kind of summery leaning. Le Male Parfum, I really don't get that either. That one's much more spicy and oriental. And honestly, almost not even quite as sweet as this, believe it or not. And last up, Boss the Scent Parfum, the one that they discontinued. Like I said, for me, I can't speak on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap this one up here. My final thoughts, it is very pleasant. But I want to reiterate, because I feel like I can't say this enough, it's not going to give you the challenging parfum depth that maybe you're looking for, and I will admit, maybe I was looking for as well. Very sweet, and that sweetness will sometimes overshadow everything else that's going on, especially when it is that much of a syrupy sweet fragrance here. So if you're looking for, a stronger leather accord, maybe you're looking for more of the woods, maybe even more of the iris to some extent, because you do pick up on it, but the sweetness is overpowering it. It's not going to be quite to that level. Still very much a designer release, a consumer level fragrance here. Now, is this one that's going to be popping up on the channel? I think absolutely, especially once it hits discounters. I'm going to be featuring this because I think for winter time it's going to be very, very nice. Fall also. But it's not going to be making lists of challenging fragrances. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there for you. So take all of that information with what you will. If you're after something challenging, pass on it. If you're not after challenging, if you're after a mass-pleasing, sweet, kind of a modern twist on this DNA, I think a lot of you would really like and appreciate this one. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. That's my first thoughts on Boss the Scent Le Parfum, the newest flanker. I was really looking forward to this one, and while maybe it didn't have quite the amount of just, richness and dimension overall, I still really do like it. Let me know down below if you've tried this one yet. If you have, let me know what you think. If you haven't, are you excited to? I will link this one and some of the other Boss the Scent fragrances down below as well, the discounters. You'll also find the FragranceNet 35% off code down there as well. Clicking that will automatically apply the current best discount. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.